here, Fiona. Come on up here. Okay, I'm here with Fiona, and this is Fiona's roadmap to success. Now, Fiona's got a high value item right there, a bully stick, and she's kind of a food guarder. And so we went over some tips for that. Actually, one of the guardians was sitting right here, and when I gave the bully stick, she was like, oh, she guards. I get a little bit uncomfortable about that. So what I did was just basically, Fiona was right here where the bully stick was, and there were a bunch of treats, and every once in a while the guard would just toss a treat. And so what we're doing is just creating a positive association. And eventually Fiona was more and more relaxed. And now this is going to be multiple practice sessions, but anytime your dog does any behavior that you like when they've had, especially if they had trouble with it in the past, make sure you give some reinforcement. A pet, try to say your marker word right as it happens or the conclusion of it happening, and then give it a treat. What I like to do, like what we were just kind of doing a little bit on the Venice boardwalk, was the skateboard came by. I gave her a treat because she doesn't like skateboards, but she didn't react negatively because we had managed the situation by getting her far enough away. So she didn't perceive it to be an immediate threat. She heard it, kind of looked at it, and I said the marker word and gave her a treat. And then there was skateboard was still going around, so I said, go find it, and throw it, and she went and got that and said the marker word and got a treat. Then you can ask her to sit, do a circle, sit pretty, to hand target, whatever it is she knows. What you want to do is get her distracted so she's not so much thinking about the other thing. I want her to be aware of it though. I don't want her to forget about it, but I want to build positive associations around it. So now when I hear skateboards, it's a good thing. So one of the things the guardian could do is record the sound of skateboards and then play it on your phone. Play it and then play it at a low volume while she's eating her food out of her snuffle mat. And then gradually raise that volume until it sounds like you got skateboarders in here doing trucks across your couch, and then she doesn't care because that sound is now associated with something good. Then I might take her down to the boulevard where there's people skating by, or maybe go up by the skate park where there's gonna be more skaters, or enlist the help of a friend who has a skateboard. And what we wanna do is find a place where she can be kind of seated, or not seated, excuse me, where there's distractions, hopefully where there's grass. Now it's a sand, so there's not gonna be as much there, but if you go up and down, there are places where there's some grass. And then you wait for those skateboards to come by. When skateboards come by, you're giving her a treat, go find it, circles, sits, and we just keep on giving those treats as long as the sound's around, so we're making a positive, pleasant experience. So I'd like you to make a list of all of the triggers, certain sounds, certain sights, certain locations, and then just systematically practice them. And again, my two tests, can I get the dog to sit and take a treat? And if they won't sit or won't take the treat, move further away. Don't ask for it multiple times, don't force, don't think it's associated with the dog not liking it. That's your dog's way to say, I don't feel comfortable enough sitting. For me, I equated how comfortable a dog is by how many moves it takes them to go into a run. If I'm sitting, then I stand up and I can run, that's one movement. If I'm laying down, that's two movements. If I'm laying down on my feet or on my side, that's 3 or 4 movements. So you can kind of get an indication. If the dog won't sit down, it's saying, no, I want to be immediately able to run. So then I would move further and further away until I find an environment or a location where the dog is comfortable sitting and is comfortable taking the treats. I had 2 treats outside. We had Charlie Bears, which is a low value treat, and we had the Stewart's freeze-dried beef liver, which is the highest level treat I have. She would not take the Stewart's, or the Charlie Bears, but she would take the Stewart's. Now, I don't want you to gravitate towards using a higher level treat. I did there in difficult situations, I might do that. But most of the time, I'm gonna manage the situation, be further away from the stimulus so the dog feels comfortable and relaxed as opposed to trying to plug it in. Or force the issue. So always go at the dog's pace, not at our pace. We went over marker words. I have a video on marker words. Make sure you're using those, especially when the dog does things on its own. Like right here, she just walked by. I could have said yes and petted her, or given her a treat. We also went over hand targeting. I have a video for that. Do you want to play fetch? Is that what you're saying? You want to drop that for me? So she could be just showing off that she has that. So I'm going to put a treat there. Then I picked this up and she was kind of gentle when she took that. Slow is often a warning for dogs. Mouth going can also be a warning. Ears flipping back can be a warning. Ears flipping aside and going back can be a little bit more humble. Breathing heavy, holding my breath. Baring teeth, growling, those are all indications or cutoff signs. If the dog doesn't want to look at you or lowers its head or won't even come to you. Or so I think outside she was frozen because there was too much stuff going on, so the guardian picked her up and took her away. So I'm going to play a little game of fetch here. I'm going to ask her to sit, and then I say fetch as I throw it. She goes and gets it. She's getting a good grip on it right now. And if she doesn't want to bring it back to me, I'm not going to get mad. Then she just wanted to throw it once and she wanted to go explore it over there, that's totally fine. Yes. So right there, she got a little bit stiff. Now, because she is a little bit of a nipper at times and she's not a big fan of having her face done, if you're holding out a treat and she gets stiff, or she goes from that open mouth to a closed mouth, or her ears go back, or she breathes heavy, or her pupils dilate, or you just feel uncomfortable, just drop the treat. Just let her get it on her own. Now, I would recommend, because of when she did bite and held down, and that's not really what we're looking for. We look for a dog that's going to bite and release as a way of saying, I don't like that. So I would recommend we probably muzzle train her. And putting a muzzle on a dog does not mean we take it around. The guardian here knows this. I'm talking to other people who are going to watch this video. But when we put a muzzle on a dog, that's not a free license to take it around all these situations that are going to trigger your dog. That's going to make the situation worse because your dog can't do anything. Now also the snout muzzle, if this is the dog, if the snout comes off here, we do not like the muzzle that goes around the snout. Those are dangerous. If the dog is very emotional or worked up, they're going to open their mouth to breathe. That muzzle snout prevents that from, that's why it works, but that can cause them to overheat. You want to have the one that looks like a football player face mask. There's plastic lines and going this way and this way. That way the dog can open its mouth, and the general rule of thumb when you're doing that is to put a ball in your dog's mouth and then put it on and see if the dog can hold that ball in its mouth while it's open. Your dog needs to be able to open its mouth clearly when it's doing that. And so I have a video on muzzle training, so if you want to, feel free to message me. I'm happy to share that with you. But the idea is just to create that positive association so the dog thinks the muzzle is the most awesome thing. Then I can share the video, and I'm going to forget this, so you'll have to remind me. But if you do muzzle trainer and you want to work on that handling, just ask me if I can send you a video of the handling exercise. So once you've got her comfortable with the muzzle, then you can start doing the elements of what I was trying to do. But what I did was I used poor judgment. I did it at a time where there's a harness on the floor that she doesn't like. We had already been working with her for 2 hours. There's also this resource that is really high value for her. And so we had just a whole lot of new stuff going on, and we worked with her probably too long. I should have known better, but I wanted to kind of push forward. I forgot about the biting thing. You guys aren't going to forget about that. But make sure that when we are working with her, we're working with her a reasonable amount. We're not asking more than she can give. And I'm a professional, and I forgot about it. So try to be mindful of it. And we're doing that. Try to keep it very short, 1 or 2 minute practice sessions, and then try to do something really fun and fabulous afterwards that she really likes to do. Go downstairs and play fetch. She really likes doing that. So that's a little bit of, if we have the practice and it always is followed by something I really like, then it's kind of like the dessert for the exercise, and it helps the dog feel a little bit more comfortable and confident about it. We also went over hand targeting, and and we also went over dog consent. Now, I have videos on that stuff as well, but try to use the hand targeting to get her to come towards you. You can also use it when you're out and about, like on the boulevard. She doesn't want to come towards you. You can do this. Sometimes come represents the end of fun. You say, come, or we're going to go inside, and I want to stay outside. Target? Oh, I'll come and touch my nose to your hand. We're accomplishing the same thing, but do it through a different medium. So work on practicing both of those things. We also went over basically the 2 concepts I call petting with a purpose and celebrating. I'm going to get to it right now. And so petting with a purpose is petting the dog for a reason. And this is essentially teaching a dog manners through do-overs. So if she comes and sticks this thing right here, she wants me to play with it, I might tell her to sit. If she sits, then I would go ahead and throw it. And if she doesn't sit, I'm just going to lean back, listen to a record, do some art, check some emails, whatever it is. I'm going to do other things. I'm not going to correct the dog or punish the dog. I'm just going to do other things. And the dog is the one that's missing out on the equation. That will motivate the dog to want to listen to you next time. So I usually ask for a sit or lay down. I don't actually ask for a shake. There's something back there that speaks to her a little bit. Oh, the cat. Oh, there's a cat. I haven't met the cat yet. So basically, what we want to do is make sure that we're teaching her manners, so when she says it inappropriately, we give her an opportunity to do it right. So, sit. Yes, and then I can pet or give her a treat or engage or whatever it is. But if she doesn't sit, then again, I go on to doing what I want to do. Eventually, she'll start sitting to prepay for it. When she does that, make sure you say your marker word and pet her. And since she does have an issue about her face, I just got to get in the habit of rubbing her shoulders and look at, if you're scratching her here and she kind of leans into it, that's her way of saying no. If you scratch here and she turns her head to the side and licks, probably not saying, I'm not really that big a fan of it. Licking, turning the head away are pretty clear indicators I don't like something. So if you're mindful and you recognize, if you have a partner and your partner doesn't like it when you run your fingers through his hair, but your previous partner did, doesn't mean that he has to do the same thing. So we want to customize it and make sure we're doing the stuff that she really likes. So petting with a purpose is if you would like to pet her, or she's asking you for attention or to pet, then you're going to ask her to sit or lay down. If she does it, you say a mark word and pet her. If she doesn't, you do something else. Use the watchword of manners or polite, whatever word you want to use. So if somebody says manners to me and sees that I'm petting Fiona when she's standing, I would stop petting, tell her to sit. If she sits, I pet her on her shoulder or wherever. And then I would say, actually, I asked her to sit and you missed it. So it's a way to help us get on the same page. And if you catch yourself, you're petting her and you forgot, just stop and ask for a sit. I promise you're going to make a lot of mistakes. We all do. Just when you do make the mistake, catch yourself and just move right along. Do it the right way. We also talked about capturing, or what I like to refer to as celebrating, which is just rewarding the dog when it does desired behaviors. And that's really something important to do when we're out in the boulevard, or anytime you're anywhere around her, anytime that she had something where she has difficulty in the past and she does it the way that you want, give her treats. Throw treats on the ground. Have her do a circle or spin. She doesn't necessarily have to do a trick to get it, but I just want to give her like 25 treats in a row. I'd like to kind of slow down. That's why sometimes I'll drop one, then I'll ask for a sit, and then I'll ask for a touch, and then I'll ask for a spin, then I might do another find it. So we're not just dumping treats, but we're creating that positive association. So it's important to do it inside as well as outside. I use the watchword as celebrate. So if somebody says celebrate to me, I just say yes, and I reach over and I pet the dog. Now again, for her, be careful where you're petting her. And if you're uncomfortable with that, I would say yes, just go ahead and drop a treat. So you might want to get, this is a mini treat pouch from PetSafe. Hey kitty. And you might want to get one of these bad boys, and that way you can give it to your guests when they come in. It's loaded full of treats. They can always pop it open. They can throw a treat on the ground. And then the cat gets to go say, this is not a cat treat. I'm not going to eat this thing. But again, we can throw it on the ground as opposed to doing that petting, because we want to reinforce every time the dog does behaviors that we like, we want the dog to look at that as a reinforcement. Now, when she does have a mouse or one of these lower Fiona, that was a little bit of guarding because there's treats on the ground, and that was me not recognizing that she's a little bit of a guarder. And so sometimes dogs like to leave stuff out just to kind of guard their territory. So if that's the case, then you might like call Fiona over here, drop a treat over here, then go pick up the treats so that she's not protecting or stalking the cat, which is essentially what she's doing. Now she's going up here, giving herself a higher posture or place. She got the treat, she's actually eating it. Sometimes like, I'm going to hold the treat here and you can't have it, and I'm going to try to keep you back there. Remember, for dogs, anything that they do that you don't disagree with is kind of your way of saying, I agree. So make sure that you're right there. So she's staring, and so the guardian's doing a great job. She's coming over and she's changing the environment, changing the situation. I would just go ahead and just pick it up. I'll pick up the treat on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. And so now what the other thing you do is, if you do, you can do the same sort of thing. Is now that's not high enough value of treat. And that's a little bit, and again, I think that right now she's a little cranky. We've been here for 3 hours. She needs a nap. So in that case, we can do the same sort of counter conditioning with the cat. When the cat comes out, start throwing treats on the ground over here around Fiona. Make sure they're high enough value treats that she can actually take them. Now, if the cat doesn't want to cooperate, and listening to the cat's body language and movements is actually smart, because the cat's reading the dog better than we ever will. So you might actually have maybe one of the guardians, maybe you're over here with the treats, and then you come up and you're carrying the cat and you're dropping treats, so that way we can manage the situation. The cat's not going to cooperate, but we also need to make sure we're keeping the cat safe. Does the cat have front claws? Okay, so the cat will keep itself safe, I'm pretty sure, but we don't want the dog to practice that behavior. And so, again, just creating a situation. The cat approaches, treats fall from the sky. Eventually the dog's like, can we get the cat out of here, man? I want some treats. It's all about that positive reinforcement and creating positive associations. We also talked about exercise, and remember, exercising before taking her out on a walk can help. I think we overdid it, and we didn't necessarily exercise her, but when we gave her a lot of stimulation. So remember, let her sniff on walks. Since the street right here, I won't say its name, is really busy, I would just go ahead and carry her across that, since that's a kind of something that she has difficult with. Freezing is often an indication of being uncomfortable, and I think she does it at times. Come here.
Don't push her. I feel like she's...
Well, she's just staring at the cat. And staring after like 3 or 4 seconds isn't something that I'm really a big fan of. I want to try to do something to change the dynamic. So I might throw some treats down or put the cat away or whatever it is. I just don't want her to practice staring at the cat and thinking that my stare, I mean, it is stopping the cat from coming in there, but that is kind of agreeing with it. And again, like the guardian had a good point though, we've been pushing her for a little bit. So in the future also, when you have guests come over, try to keep those visits relatively short. We can exercise a little bit, but also a nice thing to be, if she really likes me meeting outside, if you can find a place that's maybe not so busy as the boulevard, maybe we find a different place to meet a guest outside and go for a little bit of a mini walk together. There's also another guardian in the picture that doesn't live here. It'd be nice if that guardian could actually take her out for a walk. Now, can you pick her up? You can just...
No.
Okay. So if that's the case, then maybe you would meet outside and maybe go walk on the other side, someplace that's a little bit easier. But it'd be nice if he is involved in walking her, but we want to make sure that since he can't pick her up, we don't have her environment where she feels trapped. So maybe we go to a nicer part go over by Abbott Kenny, one of those little neighborhoods where there is a little bit of grass or something like that. But if we can create some positive associations, more positive associations, every time he comes over, I go for a walk, or I do this or that I really like, or he gives me a bully stick, or whatever it is, then I start to develop that positive association. So you can also pull out that lick mat that we talked about. I guess let me talk about the exercise. So Tug of War is a great way to burn energy. Again, I would get a piece of rope, and they're tug toys. Make sure it's about 1.5 to 2 feet long, so that way you can tug. So if she does get into that mode, she's going to reach out, and she reaches to snap, her head is not... Her mouth is right next to your hand where she can actually make contact. Now, also be careful about not letting her get too excited. I like to say dogs have 10 levels of energy.
She's done for the day.
Yes, she's done. She's kind of baring her teeth at the cat. And so, but the dog's energy, anytime it gets to level 5, whether it's play and then she's having a good time or whatever it is, I always give a treat out or a timeout. Because I don't want when we go above level 5 energy, that's when we're going to usually make mistakes. And that's when dogs are going to get cranky. So if we try to keep her energy 50% of her maximum or less, we're probably going to find we're going to have better results, whether it's playing, running around the house or going for a walk or playing Tug of War or whatever. But Tug of War is a nice way to burn energy. Fetch is another nice way to burn energy. And I would count the number of fetches. And so I know this many fetches is good for this activity, this many fetches for this activity, and so on. But after a physical exercise, they should get about 10 minutes of rest before we do the next thing. Otherwise, they're often more cranky and will not be behaving as well. Now, there's also mental stimulation. We went over Cookie in the Corner. I have a video for that if you forget how to do it. That's when we're throwing the treat. First we throw 1, then we throw 2, 3, 4, 5. We're up to about 6. Don't ever throw them in areas you don't want her to look for things, because we don't want her to get into the wrong stuff. And then remember, after you throw the treat, you say yes every time she gets a treat, and then say come, and then she comes back to us, we say yes, and then give her another treat. So we're sprinkling in, helping develop a better recall. Let me see, we also, other forms of exercise, feeding her out of snuffle mats. Now, the wet food is a little bit more challenging than snuffle mats, so maybe give her a little bit of dry food on the snuffle mat. You can do it with a wet food, it just makes the snuffle mat dirtier faster. Also, getting those treat dispensing toys and puzzles are great ways for her to burn energy. Lick mats with peanut butter on, that's a great thing to do maybe when the cat's around or when we have a guest around, so she's distracted and it's released. Remember, chewing and licking release those endorphins. Speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and put that over there. Yes, she's on edge because, again, we pushed a little bit too far. So try to make sure that when you have guests come over, that it's a shorter visit if possible, and then gradually we'd like to increase those, but we like to keep them short and successful rather than have an outburst at the end. I'm trying to think what else. Snuffle mats, lick mats, Kongs filled with peanut butter. Do you ever tried those?
Yeah.
Dogs usually like those as well. And training is a wonderful way to burn some energy. So the muzzle training would be a great thing to do. And then once she's done that, then you can teach her leave it. You can do the body handling exercises, some other stuff like that. And again, watch for her body language, and so be more of a student of her. What are her ears doing when she's happy, and when she's excited, and when she's uncomfortable, or when she's fearful? And I look at the ears, the head position, the nose position, the breathing, the overall body mechanics. If I'm stiff, usually hunched over is not a good thing. And then what do you call it? Breathing, holding my breath, or breathing heavy. Where's the tail? When things are going right, she really seemed to be wagging her tail if we're looking at her on our right side, but her left side, from the middle to the left. And that was an indication she felt comfortable. So if you see her tail doing circles or different things along those lines, then those can be indications that you know that she's like something or doesn't like something. Knowing how to read her body language can really make a big difference. Okay, now if you have questions on the stuff we went over or anything else, please text me. If I don't hear from you, I assume everything's going great. So if you do have questions or concerns or things stop working, let me know. It's very normal. I don't care if it's 2 minutes after I walk out the door or 10 years from now. Make sure you let me know. Over there is Fiona. She's a little cranky, so we're not going to have her sign off. But this is Fiona's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.